I'm Angelica from MMCTV, and I have my trusty helper Verity from Jericho and MMU surrounding area. And this is our, and Sabine in the back is also helping us. Thank you. And Aaron at home. Right. And everyone is currently like muted because we're doing that like webinar style. We're first going to hear a little bit from our candidates, and then we're going to open it up and either raise your hand or write in the chat if you have a question, and we'll call on you. This is the Jericho Candidates question and answer session. So everyone sees the people behind the names on their ballots. And we have invited other candidates, but we have the two candidates for the contested Jericho Selectboard seat. We have Chris Brown and we have Joe Flynn. And without further ado, let's get started. And since Chris is closest, could you say a few words about yourself and why you're throwing your hat into this race? We've seen you at a lot of meetings, both of you, so tell us more.
Sure. My name is Chris Brown. I have been a Jericho resident for a little over 20 years. My wife and I have raised our 3 kids here. Our youngest just graduated last year from MMU. I've been on the Planning Commission for 8 years, and I'm also on the wastewater task force. And I am, someone asked me a few weeks ago why I was running, and I said, you know, I've been part of the town, the workings of the town for 8 years on the Planning Commission, and during that time, people have asked me or suggested I run, and it never felt right. And now at this point, I feel like I have a pretty solid understanding of what our goals are in the town and what some of the challenges are. And I have some ideas about how we might meet those goals. And so for the first time, I feel suddenly like really ready to be part of the select board. And as I said to someone else when I was thinking about this, I feel excited about the possibility of being on the select board to achieve a lot of the goals that we've been talking about in the Planning Commission since I've been on it for the last 8 years.
Great. And just to be clear, this is for the last year of a 2-year select board seat on the newly expanded Jericho Select Board of 5 people. So, and Joe Flynn?
I appreciate Chris giving me an idea how to introduce myself.
I thought we could go first.
My wife and I moved here in 1991, my local house on Route 15. We raised both of our children here. They both graduated from MMU. We also are able to enjoy our 2 granddaughters on regular visits from Boston Spa to come visit Papa J and Nanny J on a definitely more rural area. As far as service, I've served the community for numerous facets, numerous ways. I started out with youth sports, was very involved in soccer and hockey for over 25 years. All the way from kindergarten all the way to high school. I've served on DRB for 12 years. I served on the select board to fill out Wayne Howe's position on that. And the question of why I want to be on the select board, my mother was very adamant that you serve your community, that you become a productive member of society, and she definitely served our town where we grew up as a postmaster and also on the historical side and so on. So again, I really enjoy serving. I enjoy listening. I enjoy taking what people have to say and try to make people's life better by giving them my time.
And make no mistake, there's a lot of time involved in being a select board member. We cover the meetings at MMCTV, and there have been many hours clocked in this room and outside of this room. And so I'm sure everyone in Jericho appreciates it and has a lot of questions. So I guess I'll throw it out there to people because this is a chance for the voters to ask their questions. Does anyone have a question? And the way that this format will work is that we'll put your question to first one of the candidates and then to the other, and they'll both each get a chance to answer your question. So is there a question out there that people can put in the chat or raise their hand about? And then we will put it to the folks in the room who are in the hot spot. And if you're having any technical difficulties out there, please let us know in the chat. The chat enabled. Yes, it's. Okay. And I see, Chuck has unsurprisingly raised his hand. So, we have someone who's not shy in the room. And Chuck can do the first question until we see if there's any online. So, I think you're good there, or you could come up to the table if you don't mind.
I mean, my interest is in housing. The planning commission and the select board have been studying the legalization of triplexes for over 4 years. The planning commission has submitted 4 packages of zoning revisions that did not legalize them beyond, they're only permitted in permitted use in only 14% of the town. The most recent the condos like the ones at Starboard Road are banned in 86% of Jericho. And the most recent package of planning revisions actually extended the ban to include Jericho Center. It also made renting a room in your house in 70% of Jericho not allowed. I checked this with the zoning administrator yesterday. Jericho has long reserved the preponderance of town for people with money. The area of town that is most particularly reserved for people with money has had an average cost of a new house in the last 2 years of $1.2 million. So I guess my question is, for someone who's interested in a fair housing policy for the first time in Jericho, which of the two of you should I vote for?
Let's start over here. You have last time, having second.
As far as the allowance of structures, the type of structures in what particular zone district, and I'm gonna think Chuck, basically I'm fine with most cases. I'm a proponent when it comes to housing of the engineering decides the density and what can be put there. Okay, if the engineering can prove through adequate stormwater, adequate wastewater, adequate water service, and it allows for a triplex, then a triplex should be allowed, regardless. So, do we need zoning regulations to facilitate that? Yes, we should have it. We should. So, proponent of that, sure. A triplex, fourplex, sixplex does not necessarily have to look like something on starboard, or what I have seen a lot and done a lot in Essex. It can look like a barn. We can have numerous options to fit in with the forestry zone or the LDR. So I see no reason why we shouldn't be proponents and approve such things brought before the planning commission.
Would be a major change in policy for the town.
Again, it would be, but we may well facilitate it because again, a lot of what we can do is guided by the state because we do not have community wastewater. You brought up affordability. I like to repeat really well. When we moved here in '91, it wasn't quite like this. But still, the house that we purchased is very small, very modest for Jericho. And one of the reasons we're still there is because we realize that we cannot sell that and get something of the same. We just can't afford it. So we stay where we are, and we're happy. Affordability, I love the term, I love the prospects. I work with developers enough on bigger projects, much bigger. And that question does come up because certain municipalities require it. How do you facilitate economically creating affordable housing? And it's tough. It's really tough to meet those goals because one of the premises is you have to build so many units to facilitate affordable. And if you don't do that premise, then how do we finance the affordable? Is it subsidies? And who pays for those? Those are some big questions. The town of Jericho is trying to make a dent in some housing and some of the railroad have. Those efforts are being put forward. They're trying, but it's difficult. Okay, it is difficult. I would love to see options in our zoning regs where density bonuses. Now, planning commission has helped us in a couple zones by removing the density. There is none, there's no minimum density, no minimum lot size, those are bonuses. So the minute you increase the number of units, then you're giving density bonuses and possibilities for developers to come and help maybe build affordable housing. So I definitely are more on the side of how do we facilitate as a town opportunities to bring it in as opposed to creating tax burdens to facilitate it.
And how about you, Chris?
Yes, I have spoken with Chuck many times, quite a bit over the years on this, and I think Chuck would agree, I hope he would agree, that everyone on the planning commission is very committed to making more housing opportunities throughout town. And we are working very hard at that. We have in fact agreed that triplexes and quads can be built anywhere in town. And we are constantly thinking about ways that we can improve or increase density and thereby hopefully decrease cost and allow more housing types of quite a variety in different parts of town. But I will also say that this is a complicated issue, and the planning commission does a really good job of public engagement and outreach, and we are also very focused on preserving the environment and thinking about ways to get more housing, but also preserve much of the natural environment. And so it's balancing those two things that we're working on all the time. That the affordability issue is complicated as we all know, and the approach of the planning commission has been, we are not going to solve the affordability issue through zoning, but what we can do is everything we can to make sure that the zoning isn't in the way of affordability. But we're doing it, it's for any one of these decisions that seems on face value really simple, there are a lot of nuances to it. And what I will give our new town planner and the rest of the planning commission credit for is being very thoughtful and very deliberate in these zoning changes, because that's how we're going to preserve overall the town that we want.
Why did you extend the ban on condos to
Sorry.
Jericho Center?
I'm sorry, but we're going to put it out there for the next question, because this definitely could take a few hours, this conversation about affordable housing. And I know that people are on the committee and there's a lot of discussion. So if we have time, we can get back to that question at the end. I want to just throw it out there and see if anybody else has a question. Okay, so Bob Genter, would you like to ask your question? We could pop on your video and your audio so you could actually ask it instead of typing it out, or are you cool with us? So we just asked you to unmute.
I can ask it.
Oh.
You hear me okay?
Yep, thank you, Bob.
Yeah, it seems that so many services are much more efficient if we can confine them to the towns. Education, wastewater, just you name it. And so I'm just wondering what your positions are in, building upward, which, basically means building in the town and even building some tall buildings in the town, compared to building outward, what some people might refer to as sprawl.
So, sorry, let's start back here with you.
Okay, that's a great question, Bob. I'm so glad you asked. The state is encouraging all the towns in Vermont to concentrate development where possible in their village centers and therefore preserve as much of our rural landscape as possible. And I agree with that concept. And I think, and that's, underlines much of our current town plan. And I think it's the right approach. And I would be all in favor of increased density in the village centers. And one of the reasons that we're underdoing the wastewater task force study that we're doing is to look at the possibility of municipal wastewater in the Riverside area where there's, which is ripe for development. And I think that could easily have a greater density like you might see in Richmond or Bristol and be very appropriate to the town and be a great mixed use community. So I'm in favor of that. And I would like to avoid, where possible, the sort of suburban sprawl that we've seen in a lot of our surrounding towns.
I'm up.
Yeah,
In the sake of clarity, and then moving things along, I'm on the exact same page as Chris. I always go back to whatever the engineering of the site can substantiate and hold, and we can make it look appropriate to the town. I'm in favor of it. If we want to have stories and we have septic and we get adequate stormwater and we have municipal water, then obviously, yes, condensing it into the village areas that we've worked to designate, definitely a plus. I do worry about this one situation is Essex recently approved 9-story buildings on Pearl Street. And the toughest part of that is yes, they approved it, but if you're the first building, it's always trouble to get through the process. So yes, I'm a proponent of it. Let's go. I'd much rather go up than out too. But again, from the hard numbers and so on, it is more difficult in certain situations to reach that kind of height because of lack of sewer. And again, wastewater is doing a great job trying to get us in on that.
should we dive into the sewer? Does anyone have any questions related to wastewater and sewer issues that they're we're ready to get into? Sarah?
I have a short question. Are you for or against a bond for the town to pay for municipal wastewater in Riverside or any other area that the study reveals is the best place to put it to encourage growth?
And while the candidates ponder that question, I just want to put it out there. If folks have a question, put it in the chat. It's wonderful to see so many people online, and we will give you an opportunity to either ask your question in the chat or we'll have your audio and video on. Sorry, I think we disabled the video. Now you could, if you are able to share your video. So,
I'm up first.
yeah, go ahead.
Quite simple, sir. Yes, I am in favor. I'm in favor of a bond if it's assumable by the residents. If it's put to the vote and the residents can agree upon it, yes, I'm full support of that as a funding option.
Okay.
That's it. I mean, it's a short question. I got a short answer.
Yes, so I am a huge advocate of municipal infrastructure in general, and I firmly believe that the town needs to make an investment and a commitment to infrastructure going forward. And the first part of that we're working on is wastewater system in the Riverside area, and there are many possible ways to finance that. Some of which may fall on the town and some of which may not, and it's early in the process, but if it came to a bond and if the townspeople agree, I would fully support that because I think it's a great concept and it's a great place for it, and it would be a great benefit to the town.
So there you go. We solved all the issues of affordability and wastewater and sewer issues.
Well, sort of.
So I did want to toss it out there and see what other people are thinking about. The select board covers a huge range of things, and they have a specific role within the big picture. And I was curious if anyone had any more questions about that. And if you don't, Sarah has her hand up again. So I see it quiet in the chat. People are listening out there. And so Sarah, you have something, and if you could just sit over there so the camera could get you.
I'm a little camera shy. Okay, so my question is another one that's brief, but your answer may not be brief. It was mentioned before by our fair moderator that the select board meetings are in fact quite long. Unwieldy. In my opinion only, inefficient. What will you do about that? Or you may not feel it's a problem.
Chris, do you have thoughts? You've put a lot of clocked in a lot of hours in meetings. What do you think about the select board meetings and how some of the fat might be trimmed off them?
I think that Sarah is correct. I think that they are often longer than they need to be. I think that the town has a model of using other experts, whether it's committees and commissions in town or outside experts for advice. And I think that the select board could follow that model further than they currently do. And there are many things that I think the select board doesn't necessarily need to be directly involved with, but could delegate more. I also would be in favor of the town having a town manager. And I think that that would also be a way to distribute the load more. And I think that, so yes, I think, short answer is I think the select board could probably delegate more and be more efficient. And the town has a lot of that model already in place, so.
Great. What do you think, Joe?
I've been through a decent amount of it when I was on for the intern. Yes, they are long. Is there some inefficiencies about the complete openness of it? And the processes of listening to reports and so on? Yes, I do. I think some of that can be truncated? Yes, I do. I think the notification of certain proposals in regards to the state of the bridge or a state presentation regarding bringing more cell service or whatever can be truncated to a more limited manner. Hold hard numbers on that. But I also want to be careful about how much we truncate it to, because I do think the public has the right to be heard. Some of it, when we sign up to serve the community, we serve in certain capacities, and it's our duty to listen. Sometimes that's just what we end up doing. We end up listening, and would like to be sure, yeah. So can it be managed better? Yes. A lot of that management, remember, it comes from the people sitting here and how they dictate the meeting can be run. I do know from being in DRB meetings, you can limit and do limit public participation. Especially if you have 10 people telling you the same thing, that can be cut. So I'm in favor of that. Chris touched upon a town manager, and that's a subject I'm on the fence about. How we progress with wastewater, I think we'll have a pretty good indication of whether we need to go that direction or not. And how that's set up. We have a great highway crew, we have great committees and so on, but the management of the wastewater could be something we need to look at and could change the way. So I'm on the fence about it. I don't. Most of my decisions are made upon all the information brought to us, or brought to me, and then I'll make a decision. I'm on the fence on it. I don't know what we would do yet.
Okay, and I think I know what Sabina's gonna say. Somebody wants to know who you are.
Oh.
They missed the very beginning. So if you could just quickly say your name.
Yeah.
So the viewers.
Yeah, Joe Flynn, resident since 1991. My kids grew up here. My wife and I still live here, a little tiny house we bought. Thought we were gonna move out of it, but we're still there. Love the town, love service. I love to service my community.
Okay, I'm Chris Brown, and I've been a Jericho resident for over 20 years. Raised 3 kids here with my wife, and been on the planning commission for 8 years. I'm on the wastewater task force now, and yeah, really looking forward to the opportunity to serve on the select board.
And I'm sorry, I had to move the mystery chair out of the middle of the room. It had no reason for being there. Just, so if anyone out there has any questions in the chat, that would be great. I noticed that in our room here in person, is your town clerk, Jessica, and my town clerk too, Jessica Alexander. So maybe if you could, while people think of their questions, if you could come up, Jessica, I know you're on the ballot and we did invite everybody who's on there to come in and say a word if they can.
And
So,
then afterwards, we'll hear Natalie's question.
okay.
Hi, Jessica Alexander, serving as Jericho Town Clerk. First started in 2001. It's actually a one-year term, so I'm been on the ballot every year that the town can choose between a 1 year and a 3-year term. It would actually come to a vote, but I'm fine with it being a 1-year term. I've learned a lot I grew up in the town, but then coming into the town office, it's been interesting to see it from the other side, and it's a great job. You really do see something new every day. Is that what you want?
Yeah, and if somebody has a question specifically for Jessica, this would be a great time if you want to bring it up. I had a specific question for you, is like, is there anything voters need to know before March 3rd that's different or special? 7 a.m., 7 p.m. at MMU? Is there something you want to add?
I think this is our second, so it was 3 years ago that the town voted to vote everything by ballot as opposed to having an in-person on the floor town meeting. We have been voting officers on the ballot, I think, since the mid-80s. And during COVID, we had the opportunity to put the articles of town meeting on the ballot because that was the only way we could meet. But now, this third year with voting everything by ballot, people need to get their information ahead. So it's great that you're listening now because there won't be any information at the polling place. You need to have your mind made up at the polling place. And the town ballot is two-sided, having the candidates and all the articles. It's important that you look at both sides of the ballot.
So remember, don't just look at one side, look at both. Joe has a question.
Actually, not a question. So again, I've been a resident since 1991. I'm a land surveyor. So I'm a frequent flyer to the town clerk's office. And I will tell you this, I was in just the other day doing research, and Jessica asked me, do you want your license for Tucker right now while you're here? Now, how many town clerks know the name of people's dogs when they walk in? So there's value in that. When I'm in town clerk doing research and Jessica's there, the matter of questions that come in and she handles and she addresses everyone almost by their first name, that's a plus. So
I had the same experience with my dog license.
Are you running unopposed? Is there anybody else running?
There's no one else running that I know of. There's no one else on the ballot, but there's an opportunity to run as a write-in candidate. Obviously having your name on the ballot is an advantage. If there are 2 positions on the ballot that do not have a candidate, one of those is for cemetery commissioner, and the other one is Deborah Rawson library trustee. So if you have interest in serving, those positions will get appointed if no one gets elected at town meeting, but you could get elected if you have at least 31 votes and you have more votes than anyone else that was written in. So you can do a write-in campaign for any of the offices on the ballot, but specifically those 2 that don't have candidates. If you're interested, it's not too late.
So I think our question we have is not for Jessica.
So we've already,
Okay,
questions right now.
You've been reading those, I've been multitasking, go Verity.
It's a question for Jessica, mayhaps. This is the 4th question that's come in. We're dealing with a lot of questions here. which is
So
great. We
thanks
love
for
to
being
hear
here.
from the people. This one I think is for you, Jessica, from Valerie. Are there any challenges facing the town clerk / any new initiatives? And also thanking you for your fabulous job.
So I guess it's been 2 years now, and it was just by happenstance. I served on a planning for it's a Vermont technical initiative, and I didn't even know actually that the state has a division in information technology. They're on the top floor of the DMV building, and I attended their first meeting, and I must have filled out the. I really enjoyed it because there was a lot of things like about AI and everything that's becoming digitized. And I was asked to serve on the board to plan the next meeting. So I ended up at this table on at the fourth floor of the DMV building, and it was like representatives from Google and all the different big technical companies. And then they wanted to hear like from the municipal town clerk, how do you use technology? What helps and what doesn't. And so I was like, well, when I started, in 2001, we had a dot matrix printer. The system for the land record recording was Fox or DBase. And it was always an argument, like, is it a software problem or a hardware problem? The internet was not like throughout town. It was the dial-up modem thing. Oh, and yeah, I said the dot matrix printer, and we had a typewriter. We still have the typewriter, but really things have become digitized. And for the town clerk, like with the voter checklist, that all used to be applications by hand, which are still available. But now it's migrated statewide. So each town clerk is a user of the system, and it's become more efficient, but there's been a learning curve. And with technology, there's a response from the public that they want their results more immediate. I could spend all day on email, and I try not to, but you also feel bad that, I wasn't able to get back to them today or whatever. So, but with the elections, I know when Jim Condos was Secretary of State, one of his big thing was to have election night results. And that's helpful. And it may be a check on the system, because if there's a big change from election night to the next day, or it's actually the following Thursday when the results are official, you'd want to know why there was a change. But it just adds on to the end of a long day that you need to type in the election night results. So it's been interesting to see the migration of technology, but I think it's also, it is a challenge to weigh, what's the benefit and what are we losing by going to all this technology.
There's definitely a lot happening there. And if anyone's ever been on election night when the votes are tallied, it's amazing how quickly the results come out, actually, especially in our small towns here. And I've seen it in Richmond, and I know in Jericho. So we do have a number of questions out there. Verity's on top of it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go and ask Natalie, if you want to unmute and ask your question. I'm not quite sure if your question's for Jessica or the candidates, so if you could just let us know. So Jessica can know if she can
I'm gonna escape.
Yeah, the question isn't for, thank you very much. The question isn't for Jessica, other than for me to add my thanks to Jessica for personalized and complete attention to any question that happens to be there. But my question is for the two candidates. We've seen Bertie Peckett's questions. We've heard from Chuck. We hear from various people in the town. So there is probably at least 5 extremely pressing questions for Jericho that will be in front of you and in front of the select board next year. Out of all that grouping of questions, if you could have your magic wand and solve one of them, which would it be and why?
I'm losing track of whose turn it is. But Chris has volunteered Joe to go next.
Sorry, Joe.
Okay, you know, I've been married a long time, so I don't when I do what I'm told. Boy, that is a really good question. Did not expect that.
Sorry.
No. It's a definitely not a question. I guess I'm going to say it's wastewater. And I'm really happy I'm on the wastewater committee. Because of my background expertise, what I do for a living, and my involvement with the town. So much revolves around development. Jericho's a small town, and there's not a lot of things that we have to deal with. We really don't. You know, we have a road crew, we don't have waste, we don't have sewage treatment plant, we don't have really public works. So the only way to try to accomplish our goals for compact density, bringing people back in, helping our tax rolls to hopefully go down, and reviving our schools again, is housing. And about the only way to bring housing in and keep our permit process assumable and our costs assumable is by getting a municipal wastewater system that facilitates more homes for more people. From that, we will have other bridges to cross, but right now, that's my perception of what's the most important. And again, I'm glad the town agreed to let me be on the committee.
And how about you, Chris? What's the number one top?
I think, given all the feedback that we've heard in the planning commission over the past 8 years, I think I would agree that housing is the one thing that rises to the top always. It's what people always mention. And so I think that, you know, it's a priority in the town plan. I think it should be a priority going forward. I think that infrastructure is a great way to enhance the opportunities for housing throughout town. And I would say that the specific thing I would do would probably be to have a dedicated way of working with the CHIP program. The state of Vermont has just introduced a program called CHIP. It's Community Housing Infrastructure Program. And it's over the next 10 years, they're rolling out $2 billion for infrastructure that leads to housing. And so I would say that a great way that the town could best enhance the opportunity for housing throughout town would be to jump on the CHIP program and be, you know, proactive with that. And because that could be for any size development, it could be for anywhere in town. And it offers a lot of great possibilities. So that would be my specific goal for helping with the housing issue.
So we do have a question from Chuck, but we still have some people that haven't asked questions yet. And Verity will get to those, and then we'll get to Chuck's question.
Yes. Okay, great. So we have 2 questions online. The first question is from Leslie. What are the main points of difference between the 2 candidates?
Yeah, well, first last time, bud.
That's a tough one, and I don't know if they have the objectivity to answer that. Maybe we could spin it a little bit and ask, like, what is something that people don't know about you from Front Porch Forum that you think sets you apart? Or I mean, yeah, the differences between, again, like, what do we not know about you that what you would bring to the select board that would be of use to us all and help us make our voting decision?
Okay, good question. Well, one thing, here's an answer. My career is as an architect, and as an architect, have a lot of experience with project management and with which includes complex variables of budget, personality conflicts, scheduling, and I have learned over the years some great ways to manage complex projects. And I think that would be an asset that I would bring to the select board. And I also have learned through my work the virtue and the value of creative thinking and creative problem solving, and looking at problems from a number of different positions and thinking outside the box for creative solutions.
Again, in all clarity, the skill set between us, I don't think is really that different. Again, I'm a licensed land surveyor. I've been in the land development business for civil engineering companies since I moved here in 91. Again, my skill set is working with towns in and out on projects from the ground up, the permit process, understanding the zoning regs, understanding how to read a town plan, understanding road law within the town, how the roads are treated. A surveyor has to encompass all these. One of the things about reading and understanding the permit process at the town and the state level is knowing, I'm not going to say the workarounds, but knowing the nuances on how to get stuff done. And knowing how to deal with the people every day. Every day we deal with boots on the ground, wetland, boots on the ground, stream, boots on the ground, stormwater. So the experience of dealing with this every single day facilitates a good skill set working with us, working on the select board. Because again, we are a small town. Roads are one of our primary things we deal with, and also one of our primary costs. So again, I will say that years and years of being on site, staking out roads, sewer, storm, dealing with contractors, dealing with funds, what's got to be moved, puts me in a decent skill set and mindset to operate. So yeah, I think that's if you can pull the difference from the two of us on that, I think kind of it.
All right, so we have like a whole number of images there, boots on the ground, drafting table, creativity. Okay, so I think that was helpful. Verity has another question.
Yes, we have one more question from Susan. It's a bit of a long one, and I'm prone to stumbling over my words, so bear with me. I think the town needs better capital planning, a longer time frame around 20 years, and a more expanded list of assets and projects and debt capacity. Taking care of buildings like the library, the town, garage, etc., and adding sidewalk and wastewater programs. Do you agree that the town needs to do better capital planning? And if yes, what experience do you bring to the task of explaining the town's capital plan? It's just up there on the screen if you want to reread any bit of it.
Me first.
I think didn't I go first?
You did.
And Susan Parisi is the chair of the planning
Yep. Yes.
commission. Okay, just
Yeah.
so
Oh,
in
definitely.
case anyone didn't know it, it's a small town. It's true.
Yeah. So
And people can also like ask us to turn on their video if they want to hear their voices, although Verity did a great job.
Right. I would definitely agree with Susan that we need to do a better job with a capital plan. Again, although my stint on the select board was short, I did go through a budget season. Line by line, every meeting we discuss the budgets, look at capital plans and so on. In all honesty, it's kind of hard to understand the capital plan, okay? Because it is kind of here. I would love to see a structured, definitive list of things that we want to do in the order we want to do them. Okay. That it's really important, especially when you're looking down the road for what our bonding capacity is, and that will become a big question if we look at a bond for wastewater. What's our bond capacity? Since we still are finishing a bond on this building, we just assumed the garage. Can we do another one? So, yeah, I agree. We need to have a much better planning. We need to put our priorities in order. The biggest question is who decides those priorities and how we fund them.
So Chris.
Yes, so great question, Susan. The planning commission and the select board have slowly begun working together on an enhanced capital plan. I think it's essential for the town to have one. I think what we have now is very basic and in my mind doesn't go out long enough to be of use as a strategic tool for financial planning. So I think it's really important. I think that it should go out 20 years. I think that the planning commission and the select board should be working on it together so that there's collaborative effort on what the longer term vision is. I think the town could be, should be open to a variety of ways of financing projects going forward. I think that it will be, as I said before, I think the town will need to be more proactive in future development projects in order to solve a lot of the problems that we're trying to solve. And so I think a capital plan would provide the framework for that and give guidance to, in turn, each annual capital budget.
So I think that Chuck had another question out there. I don't know if you still remember it. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But thank you.
There are currently 5 developments of luxury homes in various stages of completion right now in Jericho. One has 9 homes with an average cost of about $1.1 million, kind of typical of what's being built in Jericho right now. In all 5 of those locations, condos are banned, ostensibly for environmental, agricultural, and maybe character reasons. And so my question is, do you agree with the longstanding position of the town that large single-family homes are a better environmental direction than attached housing? And these are in locations where if you have 9 homes with 4 bedrooms each, you have the capacity for a good number of condos. So there's adequate water, adequate sewer, septic, for development of 9 enormous homes where condos are banned. And they're banned, according to the town, for environmental and agricultural reasons. I mean, do you support that reasoning?
So yeah, let's talk about condos. Chris,
So
you've probably thought about all this a lot.
yes,
The planning commission.
yes, we have. I can assure you the condos are not banned for aesthetic reasons. That's not an issue. I mean, when we talk about the scale of buildings in different parts of town, it has to do with scale, size. And I can tell you that I was among the strongest advocates for allowing triplexes and quadplexes to be built in any zone in the town. And so I think that the issue is, yes, we need to balance protecting the environment with allowing for a variety of housing. And we were working very hard to do that. That's my answer.
Yeah, so I guess I don't have to repeat the question.
No. So one thing to bring up too, is, you know, Chuck, in regarding this is, and not to feed off what Chris had, but the recent zoning regulations made a change that in town of Jericho, any development over 4 lots has to be considered PUD. Okay, so that's typically a condensed buildings and a lot more open space and so on. PUDs and condos, duplexes do go hand in hand. There's no doubt about it. They feed off one another. It's a great situation. We do lots of PUDs with condos, duplexes, and so on in other towns. Okay. And I will say that the company I work for, we do quite a bit of work in Jericho. And gosh, Chuck, you are right. Most of the time, the developers are choosing single-family residents as their marketability. And unfortunately, sometimes that's the realistic problem we have, is that's what they're choosing.
Well, it's also illegal to build condos.
Well, again, I will give kudos to the planning commission, because again, they made changes. And I will say I've had some great conversations with the town planners, with Susan and so on, and some of the things that I mentioned, they could look at, they have. So I have kudos to them. They're doing what I think they should be doing. And we should be looking at the opportunity for multiplex buildings. But again, we can you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. The developers who are putting this have to have or feel like there's a marketability around it too. And again, the work we do, unfortunately, this is what they choose. So sometimes you can do everything in your power to get it there.
My question is, should they be legal?
Quite simply, if it's architecturally pleasing and it fits in with the surroundings, sure. Will a unit that's got shaped like this and it's a sixplex and there's nothing around it, farmhouses, I think that needs to be consideration. Because again, it should fit in.
So I just want to alert, because we're trying to stay till 7, so we got 7 more minutes. Does somebody out there, are you seeing any
I don't
questions?
see any questions online now.
Okay, and
I think it's 5 minutes maybe?
yeah,
Yeah, this clock's wrong.
okay. So we don't see it. This is your chance to add any burning questions out there online on the snowy night. There's I'm gonna jump in since I don't see any questions. And I'm also involved with the Town Meeting Reimagined Committee, so task force. And I was just curious if you could, because the select board is very much involved in that process. If you could say, like, 2 years in, where you think we're at with that and how, like, ideas you have regarding the whole Town Meeting Reimagined, where now everything's on Australian ballot. There's a process and meetings leading up to it. So I don't know, it was just upon us.
Did I?
Actually, I keep making it. It's fine, yeah.
Doesn't matter. So the funny thing is about I presided on the select board at the meeting where we ended town meeting. Okay. Was I disappointed? Yes, I was. I'm a very big historian. I love my town and I love the history behind my town. And I was disappointed. But after going through the last reimagined meeting we had, I'm in full support of it. I love what it has accomplished. I love what it has somewhat eliminated. I love the interaction that our select board had with the parameters that they set up to run it. And we'll also integrate that, the loss of town meeting in how people can take part. I'd like to reiterate that one of the most key things of town meeting was the budget. And the select board is really rigid on how many hearings and open hearings to the public they have on the budget. It isn't just one. It starts early and people can chime in what they want to say, what they want to do. So it's not like an absolute, but that's always been there, even for town meeting, the original town meeting. That process has been there for a while. So do I like the new format? Yes, I do. I like the idea that more items are on the Australian ballot. So we do get a better representation of town input and town conclusion, instead of limiting it to 3 or 5 people. So.
And how about you, Chris? What do you think about this? Are we bringing in everybody we need to bring in with this new format? Are there improvements that you think that you would like to see as a select board member?
I mean, I'm very much in favor of it. As my wife and I both work full time, when we were raising our kids, it was really hard to find time to go. And I think it has the opportunity to bring in and be more people and be more inclusive. And in that sense, I think it's great. I love, and the dialogue during the meeting was great between amongst the town people, and there were very passionate feelings about many issues on both sides, and it was great to see that in action. And I hope that going forward, as it gets more established, we can draw in more and more people. It was still, in the room was still a lot of gray hair. So I'm hoping that we can, over the years, as it gets more established, be even more inclusive.
Thanks for your thoughts on that. Is there anything else in this room we haven't covered or online before they get a chance to give a last word about things that maybe we didn't cover or that we did? Is there anything else? I have one quick comment. So, Jessica, do you mind coming up again?
Yep.
Sorry.
So yes, the select board is multifaceted and spends a lot of time doing things. And I just want to bring up a point that the 5-member select board is also part of the Jericho Board of Civil Authority, which is made up of the 12 justices of the peace and 5 select board and the town clerk. And the gamut of what the Board of Civil Authority covers is sort of in trends. But this upcoming year, because we're going through a town-wide reappraisal, with the assessment, the property value assessments, that information will first be, the residents need to go to the listers to kind of get their questions answered. But following that, if there's any residents that want to go on to hear more about, if their property was assessed equally throughout the town, is the Board of Tax Appeals, which the Board of Civil Authority makes up the Board of Tax Appeals. So I just want you to know that's another feather to add to your hat. I'm not really looking for a comment from you, but I just want the participation of all the members of the board is very important, so it doesn't fall on a few members to get through that. And nobody on the board is an expert about property assessment, but our job is listening and hearing the evidence.
Thank you, Jessica. So, just to wrap things up, thank you so much for participating in this. I know that on town meeting day, it's hard to know always who to vote for if you haven't heard from them directly. So I appreciate the conversation, and you're gonna make it hard for us. So I would just like if you just say just a little goodbye to everybody online, and people may be watching this later, and just highlight maybe a few last things before we call it a night here.
You want to go first? I don't.
Go ahead.
The other thing I guess I'd like to say in closing is again, I do look forward to the opportunity to serve the town again as on the select board. And one of the things, I've been asked, what's your stance? What's your stance? What's your stance? And I'm really careful about that because the runnings of a small town is a lot dictated by state rules and laws. There's not a big bandwidth for decisions and so on. There is some, but I truly believe when I walk out my door and I come to my select board meeting, any kind of agenda, any kind of personal opinions are left there. If the residents bring me their purpose, their cause, their ideas in a respectful manner, then I can believe in that. I'm here to represent my town. So again, my personal agenda is left at the door, just like it was when I was in the DRB. I have no personal preference or where things want to go. It's the information provided, how it benefits the town as a whole.
Hey, Chris, you get the last word.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for hosting this and running it. It's a great opportunity. As I said in my introduction, I've been on the planning commission for 8 years now, and I've really gotten to know the town really well over those 8 years. And I've become very familiar with what our goals are from hearing people, give us feedback and what our challenges are. And I feel for the first time like I have a really good understanding of the issues and the challenges and the opportunities for solutions. And so I really look forward to the opportunity to be on the select board and make a lot of these things happen, because I think it's a really exciting time for the town.
Thank you.
There's clearly a lot of work to do. And thank you to everyone for coming online and in person. And MMCTV will also be touching base with some school board and other candidates to make some short videos that couldn't make it tonight. So those will be out for the public to check out before they vote on March 3rd. And Verity?
We have one more question in the chat from Valerie again. I appreciate the postings with your views in Front Porch Forum. Is it possible to pull your replies in one place? I'd love to reread those.
If you go to Bernie Podcast, has a blog, he has all the postings there. And if you, he posts regularly, with a link to that blog. You can also Google it.
JerichoBlogspot.com.
There you go.
Because when I was doing my preparation, that was definitely very helpful. And thank you for Bernie for putting that together.
I would definitely encourage looking at Bernie, mainly because Front Porch Forum limits our postings as candidates to five postings a month and 2,000 characters. You think that's a lot, but it's not. Before you know it, you go to click send and it says no, and you look and you've got 2,100. It's like, where am I going to cut? So Bernie's a better option on that, to go to see what's there, because Front Porch Forum really does limit us.
Yeah.
I would also, if you wanted to reach out to me directly, I would be happy to send you, I'm sure Joe would too, send you, all of my responses.
Great, and we'll make your emails available on the video as well if people have more follow-up questions. Thank you all so much and best of luck before the elections.